Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today I'll be starting a series on my channel that I actually first started in my blog, and that is Sunscreen Sunday. If you've been following my Instagram and been reading my blog posts for a while, you'll know that last year I did something called Sunscreen Week, and basically I've reviewed one sunscreen every single day of the week, and then I continued on with Sunscreen Sunday thereafter. I've reviewed a total of 10 different sunscreens, and the 10th one is actually going to be what kicks off the video versions of Sunscreen Sunday, and that is the Bare Republic Tinted Face SPF 30 Mineral Sunscreen Lotion. Before we start off this video, a few notes to keep in mind when I'm reviewing these sunscreens, and I'll always be sure to leave it in the description box down below. My skin tone is light, medium, medium. I would say in the summertime, that's when my face is at its fairest, which is light. Typically it stays in the light medium spectrum, and then my neck and body are the darkest, which is a medium skin tone. In terms of the undertone, usually when it comes to makeup, I go for something neutral. Being half Asian and half European, I always thought I was more on the warmer side, leaning to the yellow undertone, but I actually kind of feel like I'm more of an olive. But if I were to ever reach for something that was too yellow or too olive, I could definitely notice it on my skin a lot, so I typically like sticking with neutral. As for my skin condition, I'm fairly acne prone. I am quite normal at the moment with my hydration levels, but I do get dried out very easily if something doesn't work out for me well. So I would say my skin is in the normal to dry spectrum, but I can still get oily near the end of the day. I'm gonna leave all that information about my skin in the description box down below, and I'm probably gonna leave it from here on in all my future videos just so you know what my skin's about. Having said that, let's get right on to the Sunscreen Sunday. As the name suggests, Bare Republic is a tinted mineral sunscreen, and it's the sister company or the child company of Coola. Coola is another sunscreen company that's known for their fairly cosmetically elegant mineral sunscreens, and they also have tinted sunscreens as well. For Canadians, this is around $20. For Americans, it's around 10 to 15, and you're getting about 50 milliliters or 1.7 fluid ounce. This is a mineral sunscreen. It contains 3.2% titanium dioxide and 1.7% zinc oxide. Based on those filters and even the label itself, it is a broad spectrum sunscreen with an SPF of 30. Other claims this sunscreen has is that it's paraben free, there's no chemical sunscreens, no synthetic fragrances, cruelty free, non-GMO, gluten free, TSA approved size, and no worries. Looking at their ingredients list, a lot of it is plant-derived ingredients, but the second ingredient, as you can see and I will touch on later, is alcohol. For the consistency of the sunscreen, as you can hear, it is very liquidy, so it's very key that you shake this up for at least 15 seconds. I go all the way up to 30 just to guarantee that everything is mixed properly in here. The product is in a tube packaging, but don't let that fool you because it's so liquidy that it'll still pour out even if you don't squeeze it. As you can see, that's the nasty packaging at the top here. That is the tint color, and it's actually pretty good compared to other tints I've tried, which are fairly gray still. And as you can see by the consistency, it is quite liquidy, very oily and shiny. As I'm rubbing it in, you not only not see a cast, but there's not even a trace of the tint. Like holding it up to my hand without the sunscreen, it's a barely noticeable difference. Even as I apply it on my skin and I'm gliding the product, I'm not rubbing it in, I still feel it picking up the dead skin. So this sunscreen will create and emphasize dry patches. When you apply it, it also has a very heavy fragrance of vanilla that does eventually fade, but it will take a little bit to fade. Despite alcohol being the second ingredient on the list, this is a mineral-based sunscreen and it does not sting my eyes. And despite all the oils in here, this is actually water resistant for up to 40 minutes. Because the tint is so sheer, I would definitely not rely on it as a type of sunscreen that will even out your skin tone and reduce the redness on your face. Bare Republic recommends this sunscreen for light to medium skin tones. I do think it can go a little bit more beyond that, but if you're very fair, I would be careful because it still has that orange type of tint in it. By the time the product finally dries down and fully sets on my skin, it's actually quite matte and it's very drying for my normal to dry skin type. Considering the ingredients list, you'd think there'd be some type of skin benefit to this, but really all there is to it is just the sun protection. Alcohol being so high on the list really takes away the emollient properties that comes with the oils in this product, so I would not rely on any other skin benefits from this other than sun protection. When it comes to testing these products under makeup, I always test it under the the It Cosmetics Your Skin But Better CC Cream. I take the shade medium and I go for the original CC cream. I find this to be a common denominator among mineral sunscreens, but if I were to apply a mineral sunscreen and then go in with my It Cosmetics CC cream, the mineral sunscreen really holds onto the It Cosmetics CC cream very well, to the point where I actually use more than I normally do because my skin's not as glidey, it's a lot more tacky. Because this has a very mattifying finish, the glow that you typically get from the original CC cream actually doesn't show up at all. My skin actually looks matte when I wear it. The overall pros of this sunscreen is that for the most part I do find this to be a very universal tint because of how sheer it actually is. Also, the universal tint does not leave any type of cast whatsoever. There are some tints that leave some type of gray cast still to it, whereas this one you can't even detect it on your skin. For 1.7 fluid ounce or 50 milliliters, I find this to be a fairly affordable sunscreen, but more so for Americans. It's definitely a lot cheaper for you all than it is for Canadians, as everything is. For the cons, there is a bit more than the pros, unfortunately. One of the first cons is how on application, when I'm just gliding the product, that it picks up dead skin and it emphasizes dry patches. Another con is the fact that it takes 20 to 30 minutes to dry down. For those of you that don't wear makeup, it's definitely not a big deal, but for those of you that want to sleep in a little bit more in the morning and want a very minimal morning makeup routine, this is definitely not the sunscreen to use in the morning, even though once it dries, it does hold the makeup very well throughout the day. The biggest con for me, especially because my skin gets dried out really easily, is the fact that this made my skin look very dry and a lot older. It dries down matte, but it's not a nice soft matte finish. It dries down to the point where it really emphasizes any movement in my face, like any of the fine lines I'm starting to get here, even my smile lines here. It just really sucks up the moisture from my skin. And one of the in-between points, meaning it's either a pro or a con depending on your skin type, is the fact that this will mattify whatever makeup complexion product that you use. While I do like a fairly soft matte finish, this was still a bit too drying on my face, and it made my face still look dry despite the very glowy finish of the It Cosmetics CC cream. So for me and my normal to dry skin type, it was a con. Overall, the Bare Republic Tinted Face SPF 30 Mineral Sunscreen Lotion was just okay. It's great that it's a mineral sunscreen that's cruelty free, that has no cast. However, the application process is very unpleasant. It takes way too long to dry down, and once it dries down, it is way too drying for those of us with normal to dry skin. Maybe once the weather is warmer and more humid, this would perform a lot better on dry skin, but for the most part I think this is way better suited for those of you with oilier skin types. And that is it for this first Sunscreen Sunday video. I really do hope that you found it helpful and informative in deciding whether or not that this sunscreen is right for you. The corresponding blog post is linked down below, as well as the 9 other sunscreen reviews I've done in the past. If you like this review video, please be sure to subscribe to my channel and give this video a like. If you have any questions about the Bare Republic sunscreen or have any recommendations for me, please be sure to leave it in the comments down below. Thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you all soon. Ciao.